Haha,
Hello.
we're here.
Okay, check 1, 2. So hello, my name is Luka Volk, and I will.
She's not. She's lying.
Do you notice the difference? So actually, I poisoned Luka to be able to hold this discussion with you, Kajetan, today.
You put some calipers in his eye, right?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. So yeah, but seriously, okay, Luka got sick, and we sent hugs and hellos to him
Yes,
to his
hello.
bed, and
Hey, Luca, get
take
better and go to the club later.
yeah, take some pills, bitch. Okay, I would like to welcome you to our first public discussion in the new season, in the new cycle of discussions with socially active artists. That's kind of should be you, okay?
Nice.
So the artists that we say that we believe need to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
So we are Ustanova, the institution, a platform and social structure that we say makes the rules for behavior of a larger group of people, and with its jurisdictions on the dance floor tries to intervene into public spaces and educate them into a community. That's our description. So today with me is Kajetan Lukomski, aka Avtomat. So Luka wrote this description in the event, and he said that you're an absolute queer universale.
Yes, everybody in Poland was like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So he's an activist, producer, DJ, a vocalist, graphic designer, and a member of our sister crew Oramics from Poland. So we've invited you here not only because we believe you're a brilliant artist, but also because in a light of the recent events in the city of Białystoku that held its first Pride Parade this year. But as we know, has been met with hatred and violence on the street. So this new escalation of intolerance has been met with total solidarity.
Yeah.
It's a 121 track compilation made possible by your crew Oramics, and
Right now it's 126 actually.
already okay,
Yeah.
great.
Still
Luka,
growing.
you didn't update this information. Not my fault. And by Oramics and the New York Haunted label. So and all the proceeds from the from this go to all the LGBT, not all, but like 2 organizations from the LGBT.
There's actually 2 big organizations who are already very experienced in redistributing money throughout the smaller ones, and they've agreed
Yeah.
to re-grant the money to smaller organizations because we want to we want to help the smallest cities who have it the toughest.
Okay, so but maybe in like for the beginning, I would just like to ask you. So in defense of women's, trans, non-binary rights and their representation in the arts and on the club scene, Oramics was born in 2017.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about the platform and its mission?
Sure. Actually, Oramics was founded by 2 girls, and then shortly after, Fool joined them. Right now, from the original crew, there is still Fool and Isn't. Fool is we're all Polish, but we live in different countries and different cities. And then, as the time passed, there's the crew started growing as well. And at first, it was mostly focused on bringing women up front in the electronic music scene, because as everybody knows, it's a lot harder for women to succeed and to actually get noticed and to get treated seriously. But then, as the time passed and more members started coming into Oramics, the focus broadened, and now we've been sometimes jokingly, of course, we're called the police of Polish club scene, because we're trying to keep it all equal and We're pushing for equal lineups as well, and we've been working with some of the biggest clubs, electronic clubs in Poland, with in this regard, and then also doing equality workshops, doing sound workshops, DJing workshops. We've been trying to like spread our activity as far as possible as we can, still do it ourselves without resorting to some kind of outside funding.
Okay, so I'll just now go directly to Bialystock. So to Bialystock Pride that happened in July.
Yeah.
As I know, you weren't there, but
No, I wasn't there,
yeah,
but lots of my friends were.
Yeah. So maybe just some geostatistics. Białystok is the largest city in the northeastern Poland, the 10th largest city, and the population near 300,000, which I guess is like Ljubljana, close to Ljubljana. And the city has a number of nearly border crossings. The border with Belarus is only 50 kilometers away, right? So we have a short clip now to watch. So I guess we get the point there. So could you tell us maybe what exactly happened in this Pride, and maybe actually also what happened before that? Maybe if you can, get in perspective of the LGBT movement in Poland.
Sure. So, like, as a kind of a background, Białystok is a place that has been sadly, I know many people from Białystok, and they're amazing people, but sadly Białystok has been kind of like earmarked as the fascist central of Poland for some reason. There's a really big like neo-Nazi presence there. They're really close to the border, so they have a huge Belarusian minority there. And there also has been some really painful war history around Białystok. There were lots of pogroms there, which were like essentially cleansings of villages around Białystok. They were cleansing the villages from people who were not Catholic. And people were just like burnt up in their houses and stuff like that. So like to see this kind of thing happening in 2019 after how much it has been hammered into people's heads that this can't happen again is kind of heartbreaking. Um, and also, this was the first march in Białystok, the first equality march in Białystok. As I recall, most of the equality marches, the first ones that happened in most of the cities in Poland, were violent, and they turned into some skirmishes between the neo-Nazis and the anti-fascist forces. Well, forces, I say it as if they were some kind of an army, but it's usually been quite violent, and I think many of us have forgotten about this because for example in Poznań or in Warsaw the pride parades have been very peaceful for a number of years now, and there hasn't been too much happening apart from maybe like a couple of dozen people standing on the pavement and shouting something and holding their stupid messages up. But in terms of Białystok, that was kind of like an eye opener that we still live in a country where being different is seen as something. It's almost like an affront to being Polish, as if people of a different nationality or different orientation or thinking differently couldn't call themselves Poles.
Yeah, when I was reading, and I saw that the Catholic Church actually described gay people as a threat, with a top church official actually is denouncing what he called the rainbow plague.
This has actually been overthrown now 2 days ago, I think, or 3 days ago. The Catholic Church and some of the Polish conservative politicians declared that they were going, and I'm citing, they're going to disinfect the streets from the LGBT people, which is, as you can all recall, this is just like the rhetoric that has been used in Nazi Germany. And I actually get goosebumps when I'm talking about this. And it's pretty saddening that people don't see the resemblance, because it all started with words before as well, and now it has escalated to violence, as you saw, and actually real people got hurt. I have friends who came back from Białystok with like massacred faces and like stones hit their heads and stuff like this. So yeah, it's going in the wrong direction for now.
Yeah, but would you say, like, I saw those, in a way this was similar with the stickers, like LGBT-free zone?
Yeah.
But the court actually prohibited the use of or the redistribution of
Yeah.
this. So in a way, would you say that the system is still?
To be honest, not
Yeah.
really. The system is probably we were lucky in terms of the judge that got the case. And the other thing is the stickers still got distributed, but the wording was altered a little bit. So even though they prohibited to use the stickers with the exact wording, they just use different words, but it means the same, right?
Yeah.
And I have like first-hand reports from people who have found these stickers on their doors, on their cars, which must be a really frightening thing to find.
Mm. Also, I read that in Gniezno it was actually banned from happening. So I guess it's
Yeah.
the mayor of this city actually prohibited the. So it's in more cities. I saw that it's in 20 cities in Poland. That it was in the last year.
You mean the LGBT-free zones?
No, the parades like happening
Oh yeah,
for the
yeah,
first
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So I guess there's a movement happening that wants to hold
Contradict,
this.
yeah.
Yes. So, but in a way, it's pushing back with the really hateful
Yeah.
speech and also violence. Yeah. So maybe if we also turn to the government, because actually this is not a surprise if we consider that
Exactly.
that a far right populist party is in power since 2007 15 already. Okay. So do you have election in October this year?
Yeah.
So what?
The 13th.
Yes.
Please vote, everybody in Poland.
Can we vote by post?
Go on. Thank you for lightening the mood.
Yeah. So, what do you think? I mean, what would you say about the government? I guess do you still think there is like what will happen in the parliament election? What is your prognosis?
I think before we can start doing prognosis, it's probably the first thing that I should have said, that the hate and the exacerbation of the whole situation has happened because of the government and because of what the official media say, and our government, which is mostly ruled by peace, which is Prawo i Sprawiedliwość, which translates roughly to law and order, or like law and
Or just peace?
I didn't say that. I don't want to go to jail. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we'll censor this.
They actually have this modus operandi that they find this scapegoat, and they just use it. They squeeze it for all they have, because it's very useful to kind of like deflect from the things that they've been doing that are almost illegal, and most of them are illegal and against the constitution. They've actually replaced all of the judges in the highest courts in Poland. Two judges that are their their friends or their co-workers. And they've been doing, like, this is only one thing. They've been doing this for 4 years, and each time they do something that's controversial, they try to beforehand do a huge smear campaign. At first, it was the immigrants. Then it was the teachers who have been striking because the teacher wages in Poland are abysmal. Then it was the disabled people who have been occupying the parliament, and now it is LGBT people. So this hate and the violence didn't come from nothing, you know. We used to be a pretty normal European country, and we were on a good way to joining, you know, the West in terms of how people were treated there, and how equality was something that was just like understood and completely standard. And throughout the last 4 years, we've actually taken a couple of steps back and closer to Russia.
So yeah, I mean, you mentioned the media before, and maybe you can tell us how the events at the parade were portrayed in the Polish media.
Of course, the national media, which is wildly propagandist, they've tried spinning this, and they've tried pinning it on someone else. which we've become so accustomed to that we almost don't see now, which is also really frightening because if you turn on TVP, which is like the national TV, and hear all the stuff that they're saying, you just laugh at it because it's so completely absurd. But then you think to yourself, okay, so like half the country is watching it and they're not fact checking, you know? And they believe every word that they hear there. So it's not really a surprise that people who maybe haven't read a sentence about LGBT people in their life, they just believe this media output and they're scared, you know? They think we're some kind of, as you said, we're some kind of a plague. They think we are some kind of a anti-Polish establishment that's trying to teach their kids to masturbate at 3 years old, which is like also citing the sources. Um, so it's like an all-out media war.
So, but my question here is, where is the opposition? Where I haven't read anything like about what did the opposition. Do they have any statements? Do they have any public space?
To be honest, our opposition is very fragmented. The biggest political force that is opposing peace is right now Koalicja Obywatelska, who have been created from a couple of other political forces, mostly PO, which is Platforma Obywatelska, who have been ruling Poland for 8 years previously. But they haven't done anything in these 8 years to raise the standard of equality in Poland. They have been doing a lot of good economic work. They have been doing a lot of good law work, but they have been kind of eaten by some scandals. Of course, corruption, as always, starts to creep up when if you're ruling for a little bit too long. And they've just lost people just don't believe them anymore. Um, and then the other force, which is slowly gaining some traction, is Lewica, which is also a bigger conglomerate based on a couple of parties like Razem, like Wiosna, which has been recently established, that are outspoken about equality, and they do want, equal rights for women, equal rights for the LGBT people. They want, to ease on the abortion rights as well. So I don't know if we can be hopeful at this point because in all the polls, peace is still winning the October election. But it's a matter if they get the parliament majority. So if they can still overrule each and every single project that goes through the parliament.
Okay, so I guess also it's a fault of the unactive opposition that this is happening, I guess.
As well, yes.
Or deconstructed total of the opposition, yeah. So there was also one question. We saw, like on the streets, we saw a lot of mostly men on the streets with rocks and yelling and la la la. So do you think it's like do you consider this was like a men's club, who were attacking, or do you think these right wingers are mostly a men's club, or?
I think men are more visible in these, both in these videos and in the whole context of LGBT people, because male homophobia tends to be a lot more aggressive. But then I've been attending prides for ages now, and there's loads of women also, and it's not because the stereotype in Poland is it's like old ladies who pray all the time, who listen to Radio Maria, which is like propagandist, like a really, really bad religious radio. Um, and and the stereotype is kind of wrong. I've seen many young women shouting obscenities at us still, and being aggressive, and being even aggressive in public places, without the need to stop, stop, quote unquote, the the pride parade.
Mm. Okay, so maybe to a more positive light, kind of.
I was waiting for this.
Yeah. So
It's a little bit embarrassing to me to come to a different country and to, have all this like bad stuff shown.
yeah, but
But it's, yeah, I know you're getting
actually
there.
when I was watching these videos, I remembered I was attending Split Pride, in Croatia, maybe 5 years ago or something, and it was the same, rocks were thrown and everything, and now it's now the fifth or I don't know, sixth year already. Okay, kind of, but still,
We just need to get visible,
yeah, but
that's
I'm not sure if the mentality changes, but maybe it just at least it shuts down, not appearing in violence, I
yeah,
guess,
yeah.
or so. Um, okay, as I said, maybe we can talk a little bit about the compilation.
I'd love to.
So you said 126.
26, yeah.
26. So it's called Total Solidarity. I really like the text of the of the compilation. It was wrote by Mala Herba.
Mala
right?
Herba, yeah, that's hers.
Congrats on that. I really enjoyed reading that.
It's funny because when she wrote that on our private chat, like the two words, we were like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, maybe I can read a little bit. I didn't write it here because this just popped out of my head now, but I'll find it later.
Sure.
Maybe you can tell us more about the compilation and what the general idea was behind it.
After Białystoku, there was a lot of negativity going on, and there was also some kind of dispute in the electronic music society, and it all kind of started turning very, very dark and negative. So we just wanted to turn it into something good and productive. And at first we started writing some messages and emails to clubs and collectives and artists that we knew, with just like a little bit of a question: could you support us? Could you like visibly say, okay, I stand here with you guys. You're safe in my club. You're safe at my concert. You're safe at our club night. And the response was absolutely overwhelming. People started just like turning their profile pictures rainbow and putting posts up, and then we thought, why stop there, And Justina Fool from our collective was talking with the New York Haunted boss, Drug Culture, and they came up with the idea of the compilation. And at first, the compilation, the charity compilation, at first it was supposed to be, I think maybe 20 tracks. So it was supposed to be like a small underground thing. But the more tracks we got, the more cocky, I guess, we started getting, and we started writing to bigger and bigger artists. And it just kind of completely snowballed from there, which kind of scared us at first because the amount of work, the sheer amount of emails and communication and mastering that had to be done. There's like huge thanks to Ray Damurat from Uferlos Studios who carried this on her back and mastered like over 100 tracks throughout a week without probably sleeping. Um, so yeah, that kind of turned into something a lot bigger than we thought. And then the press also started picking up on it, and it got featured on Mix Mag and DJ Mag and Fact and Resident Advisor and whatever, like I can't even remember all of the. We got like a review on Pitchfork, which seemed something which is completely, out of reach for a little Polish collective which is completely DIY and has like €3 on in their bank account. So yeah, that absolutely got us floored. And like the whole proceeds from the compilation go to Kampania Przeciw Homofobii and Miłość nie wyklucza, and these are two of the biggest LGBTQ organizations in Poland. And we were in talks with them to strictly give this money to small organizations in smaller cities in Poland, just like Białystok, just like Lublin, which had a really bad problem with security last year as well. Gniezno, a couple of different cities.
So maybe just a few words from
Go on.
from this. Okay, it's long. Maybe you can read it on oramicspl.bandcamp.com. You can find the whole compilation there and buy it, of course, and also read the text and
Give them your money.
yeah, give all your money. Buy every track single. So we want to take it further and do what we do best, share our passion for music and creating spaces where we can all feel free and at home. Music, art, and the club scene are all parts of culture which is not and cannot be indifferent to historical and social turmoils of political oppression. Quite the contrary, it has always been the voice of resistance. Club culture is something more than hedonistic sounds letting you forget about your everyday life. It is something more than a way to make money. It is a tool that can help other people. This was like an extract of the text. And also maybe I found like we will talk a little bit about the interior festival also, but I wanted to say maybe before that okay, or maybe I'll just say a few words about this. There was a festival held in Lubiac, right?
Lubiąż.
Yeah. Should be held.
Yeah.
Was planned actually, and it's called Interior. It's the promoters are called
Revive.
Revive.
Yeah, it's like a part of a bigger brand.
Yes, this and actually. Which I think kind of surprised me. They actually took like a really neutral stance on this. This was actually after the Pride parade and the whole situation. Mm-hmm. The whole electronic scene in Poland kind of took a stance, right?
Yes, definitely.
Like Oramics and Unsound Festival and
Brutage,
yeah.
many other
and
ones.
Then these guys from the Interior Festival said, maybe you can tell us.
It was really unnerving because I was supposed to play a set there, and like out of the blue, probably maybe a month before the festival, they changed their cover photo because the rainbow profile picture was already starting, and Institute, their biggest competitor, did the rainbow picture, and they got like a lot of shit in the comments and a lot of hate. So I guess it was kind of supposed to be a business move for Interior to put up a cover photo which said Revive is free from politics, and the paragraphs underneath were filled with stuff like every side has the right to speak, and both of the sides were friends with, being like neutral to the point where you're actually helping the oppressor. and it really pissed me off. And I actually I never really like try and do like shit storms on the internet because I just don't have time for it. But it really hit close to home, and it was also the electronic music scene, which I always thought was it was like pretty standard to stand against inequalities. So I just put up a couple of posts and was really outraged, and I canceled my show. And then this also kind of snowballed, and they started trying to counter what they said before, but they were only getting worse. And the electronic music community started actually pitching in the comments and telling them, okay, if you don't know what to say, please don't say anything. Um, and it actually ended with most of the artists. At first, most of the artists from other countries canceled their shows, and then a couple of Polish artists also followed, and they had to cancel the whole festival, which was not absolutely my purpose. And also, I know like a lot of organizers.
Why not?
You know what? It has been proven since that this was the work of one DJ who is the brain behind Revive, and he didn't consult this with his crew, which is in itself kind of an inequality, right? And I know a lot of people who have been working really hard to make Revive happen and make Interior happen. Uh, and it really breaks my heart to I don't know, destroy their work. But at the same time, I guess you should really moderate what you put out to the public, right? The more fans you have, the more responsibility you have to educate them.
I think like the spokesperson for Unsound, Lukas
Varna.
Varna, he said, as promoters, we need to take full responsibility for what we say or do. We're all
Exactly.
connected to a broader political world where we like it, whether we like it or not. Events in Bialystoku were reprehensible, but they didn't appear in a vacuum. We all try to create a shelter for our guests, but we can't ever forget why we do it. It might be rare for club music to contain words, but politics are in its DNA. The struggle it was born out of it is still ongoing. So there's nothing radical or controversial about standing in solidarity with the victims of violence and the underprivileged, especially if you have a platform to speak against violence or hate.
I couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah. So I think maybe in this, I was thinking today, there was like a few of these major things happening in the last
Yeah.
past years, with a lot of sexism, homophobia, racism going on in electronic scene, and every time it was totally destroyed by the community and actually artists itself. And
Yeah.
do you find this empowering in a way?
Definitely. I think that examples from other countries really made us believe that you can actually try and change something from within, and without having like any special resources. It's just a matter of bringing people together. And I know it really does sound like a cliche, but it's true, right? If you're alone, you can only do like a tiny little thing and make a tiny little wave. And there have been 126 artists who helped make this happen, and many more behind the scenes. So if you just like all pitch in, then it starts getting somewhere finally.
I guess there's
That's a really like a Walt Disney thing to say.
I mean, it's good to know that there is no space, for such, for such hatred or discrimination in the electronic scene. So
Yeah.
I guess this in the last few years, or maybe last 5 years, it's coming out much more. And with such, also with this, it had to be, they had to, be eliminated from the game, if
I
they're
think
spreading, shit. So
Yeah, I think it's the matter of probably showing the world that it's not good enough, you know? They like Revive in general fell victim of just being the first who did something stupid, and they tripped on that, you know?
yeah.
And so like instead of getting, new neutral fans,
Yeah.
they just got cancelled.
Mm. Okay, so I don't know what's my last question.
You were supposed to
Um,
ask me a really stupid question.
yeah, how how did you get involved in music?
So when I was 5, my mommy.
Did you play the guitar?
Oh, I played the bass guitar,
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw it in your eyes.
It's always the stereotypical thing, right?
Cool.
No, I'm gonna say like the thing that everyone says. I come from a really musical family. My mom was in the radio, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
but you like Roxette.
Hi, mom. And I like Roxette. I love Roxette. I'm sorry. I've let you all down.
Okay, so yeah, maybe you can also, because you're also a great producer, maybe you can tell us maybe something about your future plans. Do you
Mhm.
plan something? Yeah.
For the last couple of years, I've been doing this project called Pleśni, which blends polyharmonic singing, traditional singing with electronics, with like kind of bassy electronics. And this year, when I actually joined Oramics in January, I got a little bit of a kick to start something new, and I was already kind of tired with the previous material, so I've been working on new stuff, which is a little bit more aggressive maybe, and I'm gonna go back to singing in English. There's a couple of tracks already out, but I'm working on a bigger thing. That's all I'm gonna say for
We
now.
can't wait. So, what about tonight? What are you doing? Tell us.
Ah, what are you doing as well?
I'm on the mic.
So, oh, are you
Yeah,
gonna be the
he's
MC?
using the mic. He told me before. And what are you doing with the mic? I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know what you're doing with the CD players, but
Tonight I think I'm gonna play like a hybrid set. I usually I sing when I DJ as well, but because I just like filling the time in between the mixes, and also it kind of gives you a lot more contact with the public. But tonight I'm probably also gonna play a couple of my own tracks with the vocals that I've written. So I hope you like it.
of course we will. And everybody that is watching should come to the tonight to Club Monocle.
Monocle.
Yes. So we start at 11. Join us. We'll be there until the morning. And now I will release Luka from the cage. I locked him in. So.
Bye, Luca.
So thank you, Kajetan. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Thank you for being here in Ljubljana with
Thank
us.
you so much for
And,
inviting me. I love it
uh,
already.
and see you tonight in Monocle.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.